This session is called Global or Local, Two Paths to Our Future. I don't think so, because first, the good news. Relocalization is inevitable. It is going to happen. The future is more local. Now the less good news that we all now sense and dread. The most likely course by way of which this relocalization will happen, as things stand, is by way of uncontrolled civilizational collapse. And the longer the globalizers push beyond the limits, the surer and the worse the crash will be. And of course, a post-collapse world is without doubt a more local world. This is what I mean by saying, as I do, that this civilization is finished. The only conceivable way in which we reach the inevitably more relocalized future without having to endure the process of collapse is by way of beating that process to it. That is, by swiftly relocalizing and reducing our collective impact voluntarily, wisely, deliberately, together. That is, creating a new civilization from within the old. John Michael Greer has a splendid quote, some of you might know it. He says, "Collapse now and avoid the rush." If we make the shift to a more local future that can be sustained, if we make that shift smartly enough, then we can beat collapse to it. Make no mistake, executing this will be almost impossibly difficult now. The obstacles in our way are vast. And part of what makes our situation so desperate, of course, is that even now there is hardly any public acknowledgement that our situation is quite as desperate as it is. If we're in a long emergency, it's partly because a focal feature of that emergency is precisely that there is so little understanding that this really is a new kind of emergency. This is what I call the meta-emergency. An emergency is, of course, much more serious if people are acting as if there's no emergency. So our predicament is grim. But when we relocalize, we are simultaneously heading off an otherwise inevitable, terrible future and preparing for that future of collapse if it should materialize. It's a win-win precautious strategy. It's a no-regrets strategy. It really is a no-regrets strategy, of course, when we bear in mind what I call the beautiful coincidence. That the very things we need to do in order to increase the probability of our making it through what is coming are the very things we need to do in order to enrich our lives. Yeah? And we all know this. A more local future is a future with more community, more sanity, better health, better food, less insecurity. It is simply be a better future, whether eventually we lose or win, collapse or no collapse. So no regrets. Okay. Do I really believe that we can prevent collapse, given how profoundly stacked against us the odds are? Well, let me put it this way. Would I bet on it? And I'm sorry to have to tell you the answer to that question is no. I wouldn't bet a penny on it. But here's the thing. I'd bet my life on it. And I do bet my life on it. Right? I know that many of you are betting your lives on it. Yeah? Do you get it? I wouldn't bet a penny on it, but I'd bet my life on it. And I think we're all betting our lives on it. So do I really believe we can prevent collapse given how profoundly stacked against us the odds are? My friends, I do. Why? Because we are capable of utterly extraordinary things. Because what we have seen so far, for instance, with Greta and Extinction Rebellion, that was just the beginning. We're just getting started. That's why I've now launched the Climate Majority Project. The idea of our project to mobilize not just progressive activists and ecologists, but most people to organize the majority, to act together to save our common future. It's a huge ask, but it's exactly the ask we now need to be making. What we are talking about at this conference is, of course, not just the preserve of progressive activists. It needs to be for everyone, including millions upon millions who will never become activists as such, but who are gradually waking up to our desperate predicament and thereby starting to make it just a little bit less desperate. We are just getting started. And that is what is so hugely, hugely exciting and hopeful. And that is what makes our situation drip with meaning. What a privilege to be a part of this. What a privilege to be alive at this desperate, terrible, tremendously exciting time. Thank you for being a part of it. So the observant among you will have noticed beside me the diminutive, distinguished, magnificent figure of Satish Kumar, a man who I'm honored to call my friend. Again, he really doesn't need introduction, I believe, with this audience. I'll simply mention his huge role in the past and in the present in relation to Schumacher College, and his huge role in the past and in the present in relation to Resurgence magazine. But there's so much more I could say, but I won't cut any more into his time. Satish, tell us what you want to share with us here this morning.
It is a great pleasure to be part of this wonderful event. I would like to congratulate Helena Norberg-Hodge and all her team who have put together this event and brought us together as a family and a community. Thank you, Helena, and thank you all your team, and giving me this pleasure and honor to speak to you. I would like to make some very simple couple of points about global versus local. First of all, global sees nature as a resource for the economy. Local sees nature as a source of life itself. So, we need to go local because global has separated us from nature. We think nature is out there, mountains and forests and animals, and we humans are not nature. We are separate from nature. Not only we are separate from nature, we are above nature. Local says, we are nature. That's one big, fundamental, philosophical difference between the idea of global and local. The second is global sees also humans, not only nature, but humans as a resource for the economy. You all have heard of the word HR. HR stands for human resources. Dreadful word. What has global done to us? Turned us into just a resource for making profit, making money, production, consumption, nothing more. Local says, change that HR to something else. Change HR from human resources to human relationship. Very simple, but fundamental change. Fundamental difference, philosophical difference. So for a local philosophy, local planet, humans and nature are not a means to an end, the end of economic growth. The economic growth or economy is means to maintain the integrity of nature and dignity of humans. That's the fundamental philosophical message of local. Now, global goes further. Not only makes humans a resource, but humans, in a general speaking, makes them disempowered. All the power is centralized at the top. A few board members, at the top, few designers will make the decisions, and majority of us are just consumers. Disempowering. So global is centralizer, and local is decentralizer. Power to people. Every one of us are as important as the CEO or president or chair or prime minister or president or whoever they are at the top. They are no more important than you and I and every citizen of the world. They're doing their job, fine. But every single person, every single human being has that dignity. That's the local. So decentralized, local, and centralized, global. Choice is yours. And we are making choice to decentralize the economic power and the political power. Next, local favors diversity. And global favors uniformity. Global will say, make every high street same chains, Marks and Spencer, Asda, Sainsbury's, etc., same. Wherever you go, same. Same kind of architecture, same of Costa Coffee, same kind of McDonald's, same kind of Coca-Cola, same kind of blue jeans, mass-produced globally, distributed globally, with a lot of fossil fuel, a lot of roads, a lot of trains, a lot of lorries, a lot of motorways and highways, infrastructure. So that's the kind of uniformity. Same kind of economic system should be for all over the world. Same kind of political system should be all over the world. The global system, the global market economy. Anything else, no good. Now, local favors diversity. Nature favors diversity. We are all here humans, but no two humans are the same. We all have eyes, but no two persons' eyes are the same. We have millions of trees, but no two trees are the same. Diversity is the fundamental principle of evolution. At the time of the Big Bang, there was only gas, energy, and matter. Over billions of years of hard work, evolution has created this wonderful diversity of cultures, languages, humans, nature, philosophy, so many, I can list a long list. But now, the globalists are saying, all this diversity, no good. Everybody should speak English. Everybody should buy jeans and a Coca-Cola. No diversity. So local favors diversity. Global favors uniformity. And uniformity is the cause of many, many conflicts. Wars, poverty, many, many other problems come because of the drive for uniformity. So why we want this planet local? Because we want decentralized, biodiverse, culturally diverse, economically diverse, flourishing society. And every single human being is empowered to act in the world in the best of their ability and create this world a sacred, beautiful, enjoyable, celebratory planet. That's a Planet Local Summit. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Satish. So, how do we want to use this time? I guess one thing which I would like to ask you is, how do you see us achieving this balance on an emotional level as well as on a practical level between the awareness of our current trajectory toward collapse and the potentiality both of having a better collapse and or of managing to avert collapse? How do you see or feel that in your own life or in the audiences you interact with at this time?
Yes. The independence or the power is not going to be given to us. We have to take the power. And a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. As you know, I walked from India to America. 2.5 years, 8,000 miles through 15 countries. How did I walk? Step by step by step. So, how do we do it? Each and every one of us take responsibility. Yeah. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. No good preaching others before being ourselves. So that's the first step we do. Second step, we all need to learn to communicate these ideas. The powers to be, the centralized power, the global power, is very good at advertising, very good at communicating, very good at Coca-Cola everywhere. Our local message, the message of local, decentralized, biodiverse, culturally diverse, flourishing human life and human relationship is not yet communicated well. So we all need to communicate our ideas powerfully. I suggested to some of my friends that we need new songs. For example, at the time of anti-racism in America, Martin Luther King, and I had a great privilege of meeting Martin Luther King. That was a wonderful time. And at that time, everybody was singing, "We shall overcome, we shall overcome." That was a wonderful song. And John Lennon, Imagine, wonderful song. We need that powerful new songs for our time and our movement. So communication, be the change and communicate the change powerfully. This audience and this conference is good, but we need to reach many more people. So communicate the change. And third, join others. No one person can change the world. However wonderful Helena Norberg Hodge is, she's a great woman, but she cannot do it by herself. We all have to support and join together. And we work together. A great river is made of many, many, many tributaries. Mahatma Gandhi had millions of people joining him to create India independent. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, an international movement against apartheid. I was part of that. So we have to join others together. So these are the three things, Rupert, I would say. Be the change, communicate the change, and join others to change, and then do it all with love. No anger, no anxiety, no fear, no complaining. Just be the change, communicate the change, and enjoy the change. Join the others to change, but enjoy it. Celebration, no misery. We do not, in our movement, we do not want miserable activists. We want happy activists. And we are all happy activists, celebrating life and taking power in our own hands and enjoying it. That's how we start the change.
Okay, great. So obviously, a lot of support for what you're saying there in the room, and, which is great. And there's so much in the rich things you just said I'd love to come to. But let me start with a possible point of slight disagreement, because we sometimes need that kind of grit and reality, don't we? You don't want to have just a total love in here.
Okay.
So yes, absolutely, happy activists, yes, absolutely, it's all about love. But I worry sometimes when I hear people say, you know, no fear, no anxiety, no anger, etc. Because what I hear when I hear that is people being told, if you have those feelings, then there's a problem, or there's something wrong with you, or you need to engage in some kind of suppression of them, or they're not welcome here. Whereas the way I see it is more, all of these feelings are welcome. What we need to understand is that they are all actually, when they work at their best, forms of love. So people get angry because of the injustice that those that they care about and love, the injustice those people are suffering. People are afraid because those they love, including themselves, are now so vulnerable. People are in grief because they are losing or have lost what they love. And something that we're trying to bring strongly in the Climate Majority Project is the sense that these feelings, when they occur, are legitimate, and as my teacher, Joanna Macy, has argued so powerfully, they are themselves power, and they are energy. We just have to be reminded of their grounding in love. So we see them as forms of love. So let me put that to you. Is there any disagreement after all, or not?
No, what you are saying, Rupert, is important. And there are lots of people who are feeling anger, fear, anxiety. There's eco-anxiety going around. And all these things are real. I understand them. But how long can you remain in your anger? Sure. How long can you remain in your anxiety? Yeah. 1 day, 1 week, 1 year? Then what? So, we have to act without desiring the world will listen and change tomorrow. It takes time. As I said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step, but it takes a long time. So we need to be such that we act, but action is in our hands. Action is under our control. We can act and act and act. That's what I have been doing. But results, achievement, outcome, they are not in our hands. We cannot control. I can speak to you, but how will you respond to it is not in my control. Only thing I can do is to communicate. So action is my emphasis. Every one of us need to take action. People who are miserable, people who are angry, they are just sitting there and cursing the world without doing anything. This is my concern. So act, and then action will remove your anger. Action will remove your... Nelson Mandela was in jail for 27 years without anger. Mahatma Gandhi was in jail for 12 years. Martin Luther King was arrested for 29 times, and I met him. He was an embodiment of love. So all the great figures have shown us the way that you can act, and you can act, and you can act, and leave the results in the hands of universe, and change will come. Apartheid did come to an end. Racism has been reduced. Obama was in the White House. India is independent. Berlin Wall did come down. Soviet Empire did come down. Women's liberation is much more better than it was before. Change do come. Only come because many, many people have acted. Anger is not going to change the world. Fear is not going to change the world. So I have been acting for 87 years old I am now. And I started acting at age 18, and I'm not angry. I'm not fearful. I do my best, start from our college, start research, speak to you, do what I can. I'm going all the, but with joy, with pleasure. So I advise you, Rupert, to leave anger behind and do your best for the service of the world, and then see what happens.
Lovely. I think where we strongly agree is that there is a serious issue if anyone gets stuck in these feelings. I guess part of what I learned from Joanna is the best way to not get stuck in them is to acknowledge them, allow them, express them, allow them to move through you. the problem about, for example, people being told not to despair is that if they're feeling despair, then they feel they have to keep those feelings at arm's length now. And what I sense often, actually, in those such as the so-called stubborn optimists in the climate space who say, oh, you mustn't despair, despair is the worst thing. Well, I sense that there's something actually rather desperate now in the way that they are trying to keep our despair and perhaps their own despair at arm's length. And of course, if there's something desperate about it, well, the clue's in the word, right? They're actually in despair. They're the ones who are into the people who are saying, you mustn't despair, don't despair. There's despair that's already there. Whereas those of us who have sometimes felt despair or other really difficult feelings, when we allow ourselves to feel it and it moves through us, then we have, and this of course is why Joanna used to call her work despair and empowerment work. So I totally agreeing with you about the way this must issue in action. And of course, this is what Buddhism has taught us, this is what Stoicism has taught us. But also thinking that there must be a role, and in the Climate Majority Project, we put this centrally in our theory of change. We say the truth now is very difficult. Yeah. People need to be told the difficult truth and not have it kept from them, but they need to be told it in such a way that they can handle it. They need to be given resources to help them handle it. And among those resources are pathways to action, pathways to realistic, effective action together. And as you say, and this is why I'm so glad that you got us started on the question of power, that needs to be through the places in our lives where we have power. For many of us, that will be in our workplaces or professions. And for those of us who feel very powerless, and of course a lot of us today feel very powerless, there may be power in that very powerlessness. This, of course, is what Václav Havel so beautifully taught us, right? That's what we saw with the school climate strikers, for example, right? That they, in their very powerlessness, these young people, they came and they said to us, save our world. You know, we can't do it. We're too young. We're not in charge of the institutions, etc. yet. And time is terribly short. Save our world. And in that expression, that honest expression of power and a kind of desperation, in that honest expression of powerlessness, there was a huger power imminent. So I guess that's why I'm excited that we are, as I put it, just getting started. That these emotions that course through us, which are all based in love and need to be expressed in a way which is ultimately joyful and happy, as you say, that these emotions empower even those of us who feel powerless to do things which are absolutely extraordinary, and we're only just starting to sense how huge they are.
Joanna Macy's work, Despair and Empowerment, is wonderful. She's a good friend of mine, and she taught at Schumacher College. So what Joanna Macy is saying is that, yes, we know the problem, we understand the problem, we have to address the problem, and that's a despair, but don't get stuck at the problem. That's what that's how empowerment comes. So the moment you move from despair to hope, despair to empowerment, and empower yourself to act, then your despair will disperse, and you will be empowered to act. And every one of us have a tremendous power. Every one of us have a potential to be a Gandhi, to be a Martin Luther King, to be a Mother Teresa, to be whoever. I mean, you don't have to copy them, but every one of us have a tremendous power, but that power is dormant. It's a kind of uncultivated. So if we all empower ourselves, we can focus on the problem and always say, Sunak is bad, Modi is bad, Xi Jinping is bad, Putin is bad, Biden is bad, Monsanto is bad, ESO is bad, BP, bad, bad, bad. And then what happens? Nothing. But if you only focus on the problem and not on the solution, then you are stuck in your despair. And you are not moving with Joanna Macy and going into empowerment. So yes, emotions are human. Even anger is human. Even all the negatives are human. But we don't remain stuck there. We move to solution. What are the solutions? And we take power in our own hands and change our community, change our places, create new projects. Protest, yes. But protesting is not enough. Extinction Rebellion, yes, but not enough. Stop the oil is good, but not enough. Protest is good, but after protest, you have to also protect what is already good in the world. Indigenous cultures, beauty of the world, forests, rivers, protect them, and also build. Building is important. Build alternatives, build alternative ideas, local economies, local shops, local businesses, local bread making. Yesterday we were in a wonderful food foundation. That was a positive building. So protest, yes, that's a kind of despair and protest, but then protect, also important. Yeah. And build, that's important. We all need to build alternatives so that darkness will disappear when we light the candle. So better to light the candle than curse the darkness.
Wonderful. That, I think, is a fine moment at which to draw this session, which obviously has been a kind of invitation, if you will, to the conference as a whole, towards a close. And I'll just say one more thing, which is, I love the way that you were saying to everyone in the room, you have the opportunity to be the next Gandhi or Greta or whatever. But I wonder also if there's a way we can collectivize that as well. The Dalai Lama has this wonderful saying. He says, perhaps the next Buddha will be a Sangha, yes. Which means perhaps the next yes. great enlightened being will yes. be a collectivity, right? Perhaps the next Gandhi is not one person sitting in this room. Perhaps it's the whole room.
Together.
Together.
I agree. We agree. Yeah. We agree.
I think we got there in the end. A superstar. Thank you so much. Now, what we're asking you to do is to reflect for the next couple of minutes with your neighbor. Take a couple of minutes to just talk about what you've heard so far, and hopefully that could, those thoughts that you share in the next couple of minutes, that's all, just 2 minutes, will be fuel for the discussions which there will be time for, obviously, in the rest of these 3 days and in the rest of today. Thank you so much, meanwhile, and yeah, please enjoy the next couple of minutes with your neighbor talking about what you've just heard.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.